Here's what people don't understand. When a guy has a good game like that, if you have one good game like that, your trade value triples.
Yes, it does. Don't get rid of him.
I do find that funny with, like, people are talking about that, and I'm talking about folks on Twitter that I just kind of read here and there with Flaherty. Oh, we better deal him now. He had a good start. Flaherty's been a major league starter for 6 years. Your value's not going to increase if you have one great game or if you give up a 5 spot. Like, teams know what you're getting with Dylan Carlson.
He's been pretty consistent
with Flaherty. No, I'm just saying some people are like, oh, Flaherty had a good outing. You better trade him before he has a bad one. Well, teams know what they're getting.
But if he's got 5 in a row.
No, he's got more than that. I mean, Flaherty's been really solid, which tells a team, okay, when he's healthy, he's still Jack Flaherty. I think the question that teams would have is, can he stay healthy? Can he stay Jack Flaherty? I think most people would agree when he's healthy, he's front of the rotation kind of stuff.
I say you call out everybody because anytime I feel like you get kind of put in a jam, like Contreras, he'll go out there and just dominate, Got a little swag, a little pissed off.
That's the other thing, too, from the Mozeliak presser. Like, they're going to go with 3 catchers for a while. Like,
I know.
It's not even fair to Kiz.
I know.
But, I mean, I'm not saying it's like this big issue that's going to tear the fiber of the team apart. It's just kind of weird. And Mo was basically kind of letting on, look, we're not happy with some of the things Contreras does. And Herrera, he said, small sample size, doing a lot of things well. Kisner's been pretty good. So they're going to go with 3 catchers.
Again. It's definitely what you want, though, in year one of this deal.
Of course.
I don't want to be so negative, but come on now. Dylan Carlson last year, I know this wasn't the whole reason. The Cardinals were kicking the tires on Juan Soto. I never thought that was going to happen. But they did come out publicly and say, we're not going to trade Dylan Carlson. And now a year later, it just feels like he's going to be gone.
I know.
Which is fine, by the way. I think overall, look, we need to focus also that the Cardinals are playing well right now. But I think yesterday was a big picture day. Mozeliak did talk for 28 minutes and did a lot of big picture discussion there. But I think it's fair to say that from the outfield perspective, the Cardinals have been really bad evaluating their outfielders the last 5 years.
What happened to Dylan, man? Did he get banged up?
He has been banged up too.
Yeah, I mean
he's been good. He's been solid.
He's had a few stints on the IL. But he has value. I'm not saying you're going to go out and get a frontline starter for him, but I'm saying there are teams that would be interested in him. One of the other interesting things is Mozeliak basically said, "Look, we have giant holes in our rotation, and we're going to have to delve into the free agent market to handle that," which is, I think, what a lot of people had been calling for.
It's Lance Lynn right there. Lance Lynn, baby.
I would love to see
next
that.
year, 1 year, what about $13 million-ish? What do you think's fair? After a rough year,
What's his ERA?
6.
6. So you get a nice little discount.
Yeah, okay.
But he used to play for the Cardinals, so that means more.
That means more. You're right.
You know,
and he's a good
strikeouts.
interview.
Yeah.
That's all that matters.
but,
Strikes out
here's
a lot
what-
of guys.
Look,
A lot of home runs, too.
first off, I think a motivated Lance Lynn is a Lance Lynn that will succeed. Secondly, he's not that far removed from the World Baseball Classic where he was like Lance Lynn we've seen. He's also in terms of strikeouts. Cardinals talk a lot about swing and miss guys. Lance Lynn was, last I looked, was like 5th in the league in strikeouts and is averaging a lot of strikeouts per 9. I forget what it is. I think it's over a strikeout an inning. He has a lot of the boxes checked that the Cardinals would want. Age is probably not in his favor. Maybe kind of shape he's in. I don't know.
Whoa.
But,
milk bag.
But if you recall, Lance Lynn,
power.
when he reported thinner because they told him to, couldn't pitch. He's a better pitcher when he's got a few extra LBs on him. But I would love to see that.
11 Ks per 9 innings.
It's pretty good, right?
Yeah.
Well, what do you guys want to see? All y'all out there listening, what do you guys want to see happen?
Blood.
We're throwing it out there. What do you guys?
Lance Lynn now.
What do you guys want? 855-282-8255. Let us know. Let us know. Walker had a big hit last night too. Pretty good. I'm just being positive. Walker had a big hit last night.
I like it.
I like it too.
What was your obscure play of the game?
Ah, damn it.
How about the swinging bunts in the 9th?
No. I think I was passed out by then.
That's huge. First of all, I'm not so sure Hicks is gone. I think he might want to stay here. But what happened last night with Hicks lets a couple of nubbers, 2 on base. In the past, we've seen that, and he unravels, and he didn't. And I've said this before, like it's not just moving on the rubber. Like he had a moment where he realized I got to be an adult here and go about it the way that I should, so that I'm prepared for these moments. To me, that showed maybe some maturity we hadn't seen, where he was able to lock back in and get it done. Is that a crazy take?
No, why would that be crazy? You don't think it's all because he moved 1 inch on the rubber?
That's it, dude. He's matured. 1 inch
Good
on the
for him.
rubber.
I don't believe any of that stuff when they say, look, there's
What about Waino's landing spot?
I don't believe any of it. And we've said it before. Like, you're telling me, for years we've heard, hey, every bullpen, all the starters are out there watching, and no one noticed that his landing point was off and pointed it out? Like, forget games where you have millions of eyes on you. You're talking about a bullpen where everyone's there watching you and no one noticed it? I don't buy any of that.
I like to make jokes, but in all seriousness, I'm fascinated to see what John Mozeliak and the Cardinals do over the next 2 weeks. They have a lot of guys to potentially move. They have a lot of tough decisions that we will be critiquing for the next several years if they trade away the wrong guys.
Oh,
but,
hell yeah.
but you also need pitching. That's where I think, listen, I'm not saying in any way, shape, or form that they should or will trade the big dogs, Arenado and Goldschmidt.
They're not.
I know. But my point is, the point is to have a good baseball team. It's not to accumulate the best crop of position players and lose. You need pitching. You have to get pitching.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm just saying, what does it matter if Goldschmidt and Arenado and everybody, Gorman, everybody's here next year if you're bad? If you can't acquire pitching, you're not going to win.
I agree with that, Charlie.
But can't you handle two things at once? Like, the reason why I wouldn't want to see those guys traded, let alone knowing that they're not, is that's like your building blocks. You got two of the best players in baseball at the corners, right? So you deal them, and all of a sudden, yeah, if we could put Gorman at third, but what if he's not hitting? Like, you know what you have with those guys. That's a good jumping off point.
Yeah.
Now, if they say they're going to delve into free agency for starting pitching, because Mo said himself, pitching. I think they can accomplish that mission while still building around the two guys that they have. And I understand, like with Goldie, age, is an issue, and what they're going to do beyond next year with the contract. I get all that. But I think you're able to improve that rotation and get to where you need to get while holding on to those guys who I think are great starting points for making sure that you have a good ball club.
Time for Mo to go.
And then the other thing,
I didn't say that.
You did. That was you.
No, it wasn't.
Can I hear it again?
It was you.
That was totally me. Time for Mo to go. It rhymed, Jimmy.
Mo
That's why I
Drummond?
said it. Yeah, Mo Drummond. Sick of him. Great guy, by the way.
When I think of the DeWitts and John Mozeliak, I think of drunken sailors.
That
Look
was
what you
me.
just said.
That was me repeating a text.
Look what you just
Boy,
said.
you guys are doing a lot of
the heck
bashing.
is going on around here?
I do think the Cardinals, though, this is where I think it's a fascinating discussion, because I agree with everything that Kat said, but you have a unique situation where your best two young position players play the same positions, and you have this crazy glut of position players, and it doesn't make sense. You have a bunch of good players, but nobody plays a position that they should,
I know.
except for those two.
Yeah.
Right? Both Walker and Gorman probably would be better off playing first and third. I think most would agree. You have no pitching. You have a bunch of players that are the same. I think Jordan Walker will be fine in the outfield, fine. But I think, look, if Goldschmidt wasn't there, I think they would have worked him in as a first baseman. It's more natural to take a third baseman and put him across the field at first. Same with Gorman. I mean, Gorman is more of a third baseman. He could play first in theory. I think both those guys may play first base down the road in their careers. I just think if the Cardinals don't get frontline starting pitching, they're not going to be good. So it doesn't really matter if you have Nolan Arenado and Paul Goldschmidt if you're 25th in baseball in pitching.
I agree, but I think they're going to get pitching, but it remains to be seen. That's why I'm with you. It's going to be fascinating to watch what they do before the trade deadline. Of course, then they'll have the offseason to try to pick up the pieces that maybe they didn't get before the deadline. Another fascinating thing yesterday was Genesis Cabrera, DFA'd. DFA'd. Now, as Mo put it, well, he wasn't happy with his role, so we're going to give him the opportunity to find somewhere else to pitch. So apparently he didn't just sulk about not being in high leverage situations. Apparently he he let his feelings know about it.
He was in his feelings.
He was in his
feelings
feelings,
were feeling it?
and he was unhappy and voicing it a little too much. And
To Mo?
got to the point, and it got to the point where they were like, "All right,
You're done.
you can find
can go?"
because he didn't." The truth is, he really didn't deserve leverage situations. I mean, he had been good for a while, and he wasn't getting it done. So that's what happens in baseball. If this is your role and you're not excelling, they're going to move you into something else. Give that a shot. That's what happens.
So he was bitching about it?
Yes.
Like to Ollie in front of the guys, too much, got a little too loud.
I don't know any of that. I
All
just
right,
know that he
but
was
you
very.
know, but you know.
He was very, very upset with his role, and
they're like,
let
okay.
some folks know about it.
See you later then. You want to hear from Mo? You got that?
Well, the only clip that I have is actually the one that Kat just said, but we'll listen to it anyway.
Well, yeah,
I
let's hear.
don't think he loved the role he was in, and ultimately, I felt like as we were trying to get this to work, we kept hitting some headwinds. So, now he'll get that opportunity to do it somewhere else. I think it was also just on a personal issue, meaning I just think he felt like he deserves higher leverage innings and didn't always feel like he was getting it. Now, part of that's how a team's playing and, when you can actually use someone who's available. And I don't know if every player always looks at it with that kind of understanding.
Thank you, Valleys.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bally's.
Don't try
Thank
to
you, Bally's.
Sneak that by, Cole.
Whoa.
Thank you to Bally Sports Midwest for
What
our
I
audio
did, I
today.
did your job because yesterday I pulled the in cues and out cues for my hit, and now you can use that without thanking Bally's.
You all right, Cole?
I am okay.
Is my mic on?
You're
Mic
yeah.
on?
Because I got
You hear me?
something to say.
Yeah. Go ahead, Charlie.
No, I really don't.
Cole, who do you want? What do you want to see happen? What pitcher do you want? And don't say Lance Lynn.
You want an ATP tour event? in
Don't
St.
say
Louis.
Lance Lynn.
Yes.
Djokovic.
I don't want Lance Lynn. He's old and his stats aren't good. And, I mean, maybe he was good in the World Baseball Classic, but I don't want to sign somebody because of what they did before the season even started. You got $45 million-ish coming off the books, but that is kind of assuming that everybody who is due for free agency becomes a free agent. So, give or take with that. But $45 million, I can get you 2 starting pitchers. I don't know if it's going to get you 2 aces. It can get you 2 guys because the money that's being thrown around nowadays is just ridiculous.
What do you want for those? What 2 guys do you want for 20?
Luis
22 schmo.
Urias, I think, from the Dodgers is a solid starter. Marcus Stroman's going to be about that much. I saw on Spotrac yesterday that they're both going to be slotted somewhere in the low 20s per year, estimated. So you could go get both of those guys, and those would be solid, surefire rotation guys. Because right now, all you have, and
How old are they?
it's in my backpack.
Stroman's 32.
Not young.
Okay.
Not young. So I don't know how many years you're going to have them.
Urias is pretty young.
I think you are right about
What are
that.
the stats there, Charlie?
Stroman's having a great year. Stroman, 2.88 ERA.
Baby. There you go, Cole.
He's 10-6. He's made 20 starts, 118 2/3 innings, 101 strikeouts. Not a huge strikeout guy. All-star.
Pretty good.
Because all you have right now for next season, again, assuming that Flaherty goes, Montgomery goes, and we'll see if they even make it to the deadline. All you have for next season is Michaelis and Matz. Mm-hmm. One of those guys is good. And then
Whoa.
Cole don't play, dude.
then Liberatore, Woodford, and Hudson. So 3 experiments. So I think having 2 guys, again, $45 million coming off the books. You can get 1 ace, and then who knows? But I would rather have 2 guys. So I think that those guys would really bolster the starting rotation. And then I'm not thrilled with the bullpen either. I think it would be really good if you can get Hicks back. I know that I'm not somebody who gets all excited or all upset over 1 year, and I didn't think much of Hicks coming into this year. But to his credit, he's performed really well for the majority of this year.
DFA.
No, I once was on the DFA train, but
Well, then you're on the train.
well, not anymore.
You just said Lance Lynn isn't good now because he's not good now, but he was good.
Stick up
So
for yourself.
Yeah, well,
I'm just using your own premise.
but in April I wanted to DFA Hicks. In July, not so much.
It's a fluid situation, baby.
Urias
Things
will be
change.
27.
I like
That'd be
I like
fantastic.
Logan Gilbert, but I think with that much money coming up, and you say you're going to pitching, I get it. You can get a good frontline free agent starter with that kind of money. Trade for another. You're still a little short, but at least you got 4 guys in the rotation. Matz is a problem in that he's owed a lot of money, and he's got a track record of being, I mean, not a frontline guy, but a guy who should give you some good innings, and he's finding it again after being in the bullpen, but you don't really know what you got. Like, he's been a disaster as a signing. I'm not trying to sugarcoat that, but the guy is better than he's shown, and he's going to be in your rotation because you owe him a lot of money, so you got to get him right. But if you and that's a if, you sign a frontline free agent pitcher as a starter, and then you trade for another, then you suddenly are building a rotation. Maybe one of the young guys that's in the minors has a good spring or gets traction. Then at least you're in the ballpark of saying that rotation's good enough where I think the offense is going to be good enough we can be good again.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of ifs in there.
Who's the top prospect in the minors, Charlie? Anybody creeping?
For the Cardinals?
For the Cardinals.
Well, you have Mason Wynn.
Pitching-wise.
Tink Hence. Tink Hence is probably...
He's a couple years removed.
I would say he makes his debut next year at the end.
Okay.
I would think, because he's in Double-A.
Okay.
And they're really limiting his innings.
Did he just get to Double-A?
Yes.
Yes.
He only threw, I want to say last year, he maybe threw, I looked this up, maybe 60, 70 innings.
Yeah, they always.
I think so. Let me double check that.
Strikeout pitcher?
Oh, he's
got stuff.
Here's what's really interesting. If you look at that draft, which was probably the hardest draft to analyze, the COVID draft.
Oh, God.
You had a shorter amount of rounds. If the Cardinals have a really good year in a couple years and they win a World Series, which I hope they do, it might be because that 2020 draft, and they get Walker, Mason Wynn, and Tink Hence with their first 3 picks. So Randy Flores, who might be the next president of baseball operations, I would think he will be. That's just my take. A couple years from now. That's a hell of a draft.
Not bad.
3 picks, top 3 picks. Jordan Walker, Mason Wynn, Tink Hence.
Tinky boy. Get him in, by the way, 855-282-8255. Morning, boys.
Morning.
Don't look now, but the Cardinals are heating up. A series sweep against the Marlins, and suddenly things are starting to look up a little bit.
Jim, are
John
you texting
Boy
your own
from
radio
Indiana.
show?
I'm sorry.
That's John Boy from Indiana. Very positive today.
I made a bad joke because I interrupted.
I
Cam.
laughed at it.
Thank you.
Cam,
You're on today. It's all good.
because you asked,
Yeah.
last year, Tink Hence threw 52 1/3 innings in A-ball and then 8 1/3 in the Arizona Fall League. So about 60, 61 innings. And this year, he has thrown 51 2/3 between High A Peoria and Double A Springfield. He's only thrown 2 games at Double A Springfield. So I think it's fair to say, could you hope that Tink Hence could be a starter for the Cardinals? I think 2025 would be the year that I would pencil in as that's your hope. But maybe he makes his debut next year at the end.
I think they're going to be really careful with that guy. So I would say 2025, but maybe, like you said, he wets his beak next year. But I think they're going to be very careful.
Little beak wetting.
Little beak wetting, man. Nothing wrong with that. Let's see here. It's wild Jackson Holliday's already at Double-A and raking. This dude may make his MLB debut by 20 or 21.
Well, you're kind of seeing that right now with Jordan Walker. So we've seen what that looks like. But, yeah, I mean, credit to him, dude.
Good for him, man.
His stats in the minors are ridiculous.
Bad genetics.
Terrible genetics. Terrible.
Yeah,
Terrible hair, too.
He overcame his bad genetics to put together a solid
Good for him.
minor league career. Thus far.
Cole is just distracted thinking about his amazing new influencer opportunity, cooking in Clayton with Sharon and Cole. Going to set records for the most subscribers in the shortest time. Sharon, what the heck does that mean?
That was a Twitter
What
reference.
the heck does that mean? What
What were you breaking down
What are you guys
last
doing
night?
together?
Something with rice?
What are you doing?
Chipotle rice bowls?
What's going on?
Yeah, so some random account out there tweeted out, like, what's something that has gotten progressively more expensive yet has still gotten worse over time? And I said rice portions at Chipotle. That was my answer. And then she commented something, I commented something back at her. And then Charlie said that we should start a cooking show together since apparently we like to tweet at each other about rice.
Well, that's cute.
Charlie's always trying to give people shows.
I know he is, isn't he?
He's like
you get a show.
He's like
you
the
get
talent.
a show.
He's like the talent agent.
You get a
for St.
show.
Louis.
I said podcast. Anybody can have a podcast. Very easy to start a podcast.
Yeah, he wanted some of
Not
the
for me.
listeners.
I'm technically in that.
You can literally talk into your phone and post it, and then the next day you're on Spotify.
So what do you call Cole with 2 Sharon's friends? A Cole train. I shouldn't have read that.
Why'd you read that?
I shouldn't have read it. That's why I said at the end. I shouldn't have done
Let me
it.
ask you this.
Cole clipped it off for a reason.
there's a reason.
For a reason.
He always
wants
he
that
gets back
to
to certain
maybe
people on Twitter.
to maybe happen a little
He
bit.
gets back to certain people on Twitter.
Do you answer it like
I always get back to
He
Sharon.
gets back to certain people on
Let me
Twitter.
guess. Bonnie, Sharon, Hannah,
If Hannah
Sue
ever
and
tweeted-
Glendale's
Sue and Glendale.
daughter.
Hey, if Sue and Glendale ever tweeted at me, she brings us food, okay? So I'm always going to
We
tweet
love
back at
Sue.
Slew. Listen to me. Sue and Glendale.
You can't even think straight. Yeah, you got
Does
a lot
it-
going on up there.
Sue and Slew.
I have a question because I know Cole. This is for Cam and for Charlie. Like when you're scrolling through Twitter and there's a question, favorite hair band.
No,
Do you like everyone feels the need?
No.
Like I never feel the need to answer that.
never.
Best pair of sneakers as a
Don't care.
teenager.
Don't care.
Do you ever just answer it like
Fila.
no? But I mean,
Remember those Shacks?
like if you scroll by, you might think to yourself,
I had those in
Patrick
college.
Ewing
I had,
brand?
I had roos. I had kangaroos.
Those were cool.
I want to delete those because they're clogging up my timeline.
Some people you always see the same people answering them.
Guys
Cole
like
is
that.
one of
That's
them.
why my timeline's clogged up because Cole answered those questions and they just pop up all the damn place
Ruse, you could put the little pouch. You could put your
Yes.
change and a couple dollars in there. Great shoes.
and then sweat through them.
I think Charlie Tuna. I think he was a rep for Ruse back in the day.
I think
He
you're right.
was.
I went to college with a couple of guys where the factory was. They came from where the factory was. So they would say, I'll get you half price. We give them money. They bring back Ruse with the little pocket. And they were big for a while.
Yeah.
Then they were gone. Couldn't get them anymore.
Oh, let's see.
Who's big for you? Ruse?
Yeah, if that's on Twitter, I'm not answering.
No,
Like I might think,
get
Ruse.
out of my face. I want to see news or something. Teach me something. Get this crap out of here. I got to redo my Twitter.
Like
man.
if Charlie puts out a poll, I'll answer the poll because we're teammates.
Exactly.
Ooh, I had a good idea for a poll, and I can't remember it. Last night I was going to do a poll, and I couldn't remember what I was going to do the poll on, which is not good radio, but I'll think of it. I promise.
Okay.
Woulda, shoulda, and coulda.
Yeah.
No, but I like that.
See, that's
But that's what Twitter's for. Twitter's stupid. Let's be honest. Do you ever go to Twitter and go, man, my life's better? No. It's just fine. A little baseball, a couple jokes.
No, I like to go to
A lot
Twitter.
of porn bots, a lot of Bitcoin bots.
Yeah, that's true.
There's more porn bots I've ever seen.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
I'm like, man, a lot of people are adding me. Oh, they're all huge cleavage women
Yeah,
that have
yeah.
one
Busty.
follower, and
Very
they want me
busty.
to follow them on WhatsApp.
Yeah, exactly.
See,
Not going to do it.
I don't have a lot of those bots, but I have the same. Like you can always tell, it's like a weird name. It's like Ben Smith with numbers after it.
Yeah, or something.
And
yeah.
they're always the same. And they
A
like
lot of Ben
what's-
Smiths out there. They got to
what's the-
distinguish themselves.
Cole, do you get
No,
back to
you
the
can
bots?
see it's the same thing. What value is it creating bots to follow people? What's the value in? I never understood that.
Well, I think the bots. Are you talking about for the Twitter user or the bot creator?
The bot creator.
They're trying to scam you.
Yeah.
No,
Trying to steal your info and have you click on a link, and all of a sudden
but they never asked me anything. But I know that they're.
they DM you. That's the
They
thing.
DM me.
No, I don't. First of all, my DMs.
They would, is
My
what I'm saying.
DMs are closed.
Mine are full of bots.
Here, but let me see. Followers. Where do I even?
Cole, do you get back to the bots on Twitter? If a hot girl on the bot said, "Hey, I'm ready to rock and roll," you're like, "Hey,
She's
Cole.
definitely real.
Hey, it's Cole here. How are you?" Do you get back to
If
him?
there's a 1% chance she's real,
Do you ever go and say,
She has-
"Damn, some female followed me," and then you click on it, and some busty woman from like India or something, and you're like, "Wow, I follow her back."
they're all white blonde girls in the pictures.
Yeah, they know what's up.
Oh, yeah.
I don't get that, but
Interesting. You have a type.
but I get like I get like names like Corey Mitchell with
From
like
Channel 5?
like numbers like numbers after it, or like just
Corey Miller.
like
KSDK.
run it. No, here's another one. Same thing. Like,
Do you pay for followers?
of course, doesn't everyone? No, I don't know. I don't understand like why someone would create fake accounts. My DMs are closed. I would never click on it, and they don't ask me for anything. They're just there. Sometimes in like a cluster of 30.
Are they tweeting?
No, I looked.
Click on them and see if they tweet.
Cam,
I thought of my poll, by the way.
maybe take Cole's lead and engage with the loyal listeners more.
Oh, yeah.
We listen to all your stories and interests. It's not that dang hard. Fake it if you must. Throw a dang bone to the peeps that provide your job security. Just saying, girl.
Yeah,
girl.
jerk.
What are you talking
Is that
about?
Sharon?
I talk to people on WhatsApp for 45 minutes from Canada about their drug problem. You don't think I engage with the listeners? I'm just not going to go put petty crap on Twitter here and there like I do. I always get back to people. But like I'm engaging. I'm really engaging with the fans, dude. I'm like a therapist. Girl, what's up? The heck you mean? You know, I'm not going to like do a poll and say, hey, what's better, this, there, or there? Which one do you use? No, I'm not going to do that.
Whoa,
I'm not gonna
that
do
was a shot at
No, I'm not
me.
going to do that. And I'm not going to do whatever Jimmy just said, too, where they're like, what's your favorite thing? I don't know that person.
What is it, though?
I don't know.
What's your favorite thing?
Thunderstorms.
Okay.
Chicken parm. Chicken parm.
Gosh, a tomahawk steak.
That was a shot at me. Hey,
Dang, girl.
I have a good poll.
All right.
I thought of it. Here was my poll. It's sports related.
Okay.
The poll is this. There's 5 options. Next year, I should include City SC, but for this poll, I'm not going to. Okay. Because they're so good.
Okay.
No, they are.
What?
This poll is about the Cardinals and Blues.
That was a virtue signal.
Yes.
No, it wasn't a virtue signal. It's A, I don't know soccer, but B, they're also good. So I would think that City SC, they could make the playoffs next year. I'm not sure. I haven't really scouted Portland
Get to
yet.
your question.
Here's my question. The question is this. Cardinals and Blues next year.
Yeah.
So we're talking 2024. The next upcoming season. Not this one for the Cardinals. The next one. Blues and Cardinals. Do you think both our sports teams will either not make the playoffs, both of them will make the playoffs, or one will and one won't, and which one? So you could have 4 options there.
That is a dang good poll, Charlie Marlowe.
What do you think?
I think they're both not.
That was the reason I was thinking. I don't like being negative.
I'm being realistic, baby.
I think I am
changed
too.
Much
The
with
Cardinals,
Blues.
the
I think they're gonna be
Cardinals
better.
have a lot of work to do.
What odds am I going to get if I say $100 right now that the Cardinals will make the playoffs
Good question.
next year? What odds can I get?
Anything?
You give me 120 if I win. I give you 100 if I win.
For the Cardinals to make the playoffs next year,
Yeah.
I think that should be just even money.
Really?
I mean, you still get, 12 teams in?
Let me see.
Well, I'm looking at the Blues lineup, and I'm like, they're already setting. They just signed Toropchenko and stuff. I'm like, yeah, they're going to be better. But I don't know how much better, to be honest with you. I don't know. I don't know. What's Verona going to
Well,
do?
I'll bet $100 that they're going to be in, but I want 120 back. I think that's fair.
There's no Vegas odds.
put that
for
mug up.
2024 playoffs.
I will.
During the break?
When I get time. I have to focus on the segment.
Oh, yeah, you do. Yeah.
I have a lot of takes.
Throw me one. Throw me a hot take right now, Charlie Marlowe, on this Tuesday. What is a hot take going on right now? Doesn't have to be Cardinals. Doesn't have just what's a hot take?
I'm just really into Cardinals right now.
What's a hot take about the Cardinals then?
Here's my worry about the Cardinals. I'm a pretty positive person. This Wilson Contreras thing long term, how are they going to massage this?
With better play from him.
Well, yes, but is he going to catch more than half the season? Are you going to have Kiz catch the other half? Are you going to have Herrera? Is somebody going to be traded? You also have a lot of DHs. You have Arenado and Goldschmidt, who you already like to DH a lot. Now I think you're having to DH Contreras more than you want to. I think this year with Donovan's arm issue, that's not a long-term problem. But I do think that's very interesting because Contreras is going to be here for a long time. And Mozeliak said yesterday, now can they clean these things up catching-wise? I just don't know if he'll ever be a 115-game catcher again. And I think that's very interesting with roster construction.
So I think it's interesting if you analyze how the whole thing went down. Remember, they went to Wrigley for the first time this year.
He kicked
Contreras
ass.
Return, and he wasn't catching. And people were like, how could they do that to Wilson? And then he's catching and everything's all right. And now all of a sudden he gets it. Now he doesn't get it. I mean, it's kind of peculiar the way the whole thing has been handled, if you're being honest about it. I do think you probably, if you're trying to construct a roster, you probably don't start with 3 catchers.
I got
So I have a feeling.
What if he's not a catcher?
So I agree with you. As Goldie and Arenado want to get off their feet, as the Cardinals say, you got to give them a shot to DH. And you're right about Donovan. He's on a throwing program, supposedly getting better, but that's not a long-term issue. But I think it's a fair question to say you can't have Contreras hogging the DH time when you want to rest your corner guys too. I think you're going to see, unless there's some kind of deal, which I don't foresee, Contreras behind the plate part of the time, and then one of the other guys, I do think they're going to have to do something with the roster because you're traditionally not going to be carrying 3 catchers.
Maddie's daddy just chimes in science and goes, hey, by the way, I'm glad you had a good time, man, at Alvin Oak. I think we should seek to trade Contreras. Just didn't work out here. Well, who's going to pick that up?
No one.
Who's going to pick that up?
Well, you try to, generally, and I don't know about business, but you try to sell high, right? You probably don't want to sell an asset when it's not doing what you had expected to do in the first place. So you're in a bind.
Yeah,
am I wrong on
you
that?
ain't moving him.
What if he's a first baseman outfielder, though?
Ooh. The thing is, I like Contreras, man. I like his emotion, dude. It just sucks he's not that good.
Well, no, he's hitting. He's a fine hitter.
Pitchers don't want to pitch to him. That's a problem.
Is that an issue?
Kind of.
No, he can hit. He's been
a hitter.
What do you have? Six
Just not a
straight
catcher.
games with an extra base hit.
Yeah, he's still pretty good.
Hitting like close to 500 over his last dozen games or something like that.
When I think of Contreras, remember last year we were talking about the Blue Jays catchers because they're both good offensive catchers. I think if you're going to have Contreras be a catcher, I really think you need a very good backup who's almost starter caliber who can hit. You know what I'm saying?
Kisner.
Well, I love Kiz, and he's coming on today, correct?
I wish it were
You're
Kiz.
dang right he is.
No,
I'm getting worried about Kiz.
What'd he just say?
I'm getting worried.
What'd he say?
because he takes shots at our guy.
What'd he say?
No.
What'd he say?
No. I don't like saying this at all. I don't even want to put this into the atmosphere. But as
No,
far
you
as-
want to.
No, I don't.
You giggled as you said it.
Well, I giggled because you and I
Cole's
said
got an evil side, though. I know he does.
I
Tell Kisner.
I giggled because you and I said the different names at the exact same time.
okay.
I'm getting worried because as far as and it's because of Wilson Contreras and possibly not projecting as a future catcher, which means they may need a future catcher as a full-time starter. And I don't know if
I didn't say that, though. I said half.
That's not.
I said
that's not
timeshare.
close. Yes, that's if Wilson Contreras is a Cardinal, he's going to catch a lot. Are you kidding me? They don't need a full-time catcher. Yes, probably not as many at bats for the backup as you would hope when you sign a Wilson Contreras. So yes, he'll need someone that's also a starter that he can split time with. I like Herrera, but please understand it's a small sample size too. Now, Kiz has a bigger sample size, hadn't been great offensively, but he's shown flashes. You also have to weigh that against how he calls games and how pitchers and starters feel about him. Those are two things to weigh, so I don't think it's cut and dry who's the guy you keep.
What'd you say, Cole? You want him DFA'd? Is that what you said?
no, I
You
do
should
not.
tell him that.
I don't want him DFA. I want him playing more. I want him being a 162 game catcher, which doesn't even exist.
No rest.
No rest.
I like that. Every game.
Every damn game.
I want him catching both ends of a doubleheader. I want kids on the field at all times and batting third or second because that's what happens nowadays in Major League Baseball.
Can we ask the text line, though? Because this is
dang
what I
right.
think is so interesting. You could make a case for trading so many players.
Yeah.
I mean, 4 or 5 of these position players. And I'm not even talking about the expiring deals, whether it's Monty, Flaherty, Hicks, Stratton. I'm talking about in 2024, I want to know who is your everyday lineup. And I don't want it to be so crazy where every day Ollie has to make 6 decisions. I'd like to see, for example, okay, let's just say Contreras. Let's say he figures it out. Contreras catching. Arenado at third. Right now, I'm going to pencil in Mason Wynn as my shortstop. We'll see what happens.
See what happens.
Wait, for what year?
This is next year. All right, Goldie at first. Now you start to talk about second base and outfield, though. These are where all these decisions come in. I think in the short term, Walker is still an outfielder. Let's just throw him in right. 3 more spots. Lars Nootbaar is playing one of them.
You dang right.
Don't you think?
Yeah.
So let's just say left field, second base. So what do you do with Edman, Donovan, Carlson, O'Neill, Burleson, and I haven't mentioned Gorman yet, but Gorman is a big-time commodity. So he's going to be somewhere, some DH, some second, whatever it is. But my point is, I just mentioned about 6 guys.
6 guys.
And I think you could make the case for trading all of them in some way, shape, or form to get the pitching you need.
Yeah.
And they will. That's why to even think about what the lineup is going to be is a fool's errand to me because I have a feeling they're going to be moving a lot of guys. And you could say, well, it's just Genesis Cabrera, but they were like, okay, bye. Like, I have a feeling that's the beginning of what do we call that, roster churn? I think we're going to see a bunch of moves, and I have no idea, outside of the fact that I don't believe Goldie or Arenado are going anywhere. I'm not sure who's going to go and who they're going to get in return, but they have giant holes to fill, and they know they do, so there's going to be some trades.
Explain to me like I'm 5. Why do the pitchers not like pitching to Contreras, Fat Tony? Because he asks for knuckleballs all the time, and they don't want to throw them.
He's calling screwballs, bitters,
Slurves.
But what do you think he's doing that the pitchers don't like? Is it just specifically calling the game, calling different pitches?
Well, you had the Michael K. report, Yankees broadcaster. Now, this is just me speculating. They play the Yankees, that report comes out. Who used to play for the Yankees that pitches for the Cardinals?
Jordan Montgomery.
Now, is that where it came from? I don't know. That's me speculating as a human being. But again, we've said this now for 2-3 months. You essentially had a mutiny in the pitching staff. You don't sit a guy for a week if it's one guy that doesn't like throwing to him. It's everybody saying something needs to change.
Yeah.
That's what happened. Everybody said, guys, we got to clean this up.
And then they handled it badly by saying he's going to be in the outfield when the Cardinals open at Wrigley, which I knew was not going to happen.
But what if he's an outfielder next year?
Yeah, I don't know. I like his bat.
We need some more.
And you know what? I mean, it also, with the program and everything, maybe they can work on some of the things where everyone's more comfortable with him behind the plate. And because if you keep him, you're going to have to get some catching out of him. That's why they got him.
For sure.
I
hope he catches at least half the game.
Look at him. Look at him.
Jimmy, you were on
missed you,
TV.
Jimmy. Is the air quality in Indiana making me crazy? Is there not a remote chance that the Cardinals make a run here still? They are looking so much better. John Boy in Indiana. And yes, the air quality is bad pretty much everywhere now.
And yes, you are.
Thanks,
crazy.
Canada. Get your shite together, Canada, and stop bitching about the U.S. Good Lord. Justine Trudeau.
I thought Miles Michaelis brought up a good point. I forget who asked the question. It wasn't me, but someone said, because it is true, how do you handle a clubhouse where there's so much uncertainty over who's going to be dealt and who's not? And Miles Michaelis said, and he's not one of the guys that's going to be traded, so it's maybe easier for him to say, but he said, look, you should take that as motivation. Like, if we like our team and we want to stay together, we got to keep winning games. Now, it might be a little too late for that because they're going to make trades anyway. But he's like, go out there and we got to start winning games. Everyone's got to be playing better, and then maybe they won't want to break everything up.
Chip Carey
might be a little late in the game.
Go ahead.
Well, even Mo said, he said, look, Frank asked the question yesterday, basically, in your next 2 weeks, will your play affect what you do? And he said, probably not. We're focused on 24, but you never know if you win 8 straight. You never know. Cam, who knows?
I don't know. Chip Carey saying the Cardinals offense got Miles over the hump while the cameras show Miles making a humping motion was the best part of the game. That's obscure.
I like it. I like Miles. He's fun.
Caller Joe? All right, we got Caller Joe on. What's up, baby? What's going on, man? Sorry about yesterday. Joe.
We hear you.
Hey,
What up, baby?
I hear you. What's going on, guys?
Morning.
What up, man?
Couple things. So I see the Cardinals, they released Genesis Cabrera and signed a pitcher with an ERA of, is it 7.48? Is that correct?
Yeah, for his career, it's 3.57. And admittedly, they said, I mean, they're not trying to cover up like it's a great signing. They basically said, we needed a veteran who can get you some swing and misses, who's available now that we can insert into the bullpen. I mean, it was sort of an emergency situation, a guy they could insert. No one tried to say, we just saved the season, just so you know. But his ERA over his career is 11-year veteran. He's 35.
Throws the upper 90s. You could have sent him to the minors. Why would you DFA him? You didn't. I mean, I don't get it. But
They'll trade him.
Did you listen to the show earlier?
But they'll trade him. You have a week. I bet you they trade him.
Yeah, they can still trade him. But did you hear what
You think
earlier?
they get some for him?
He was unhappy with his role. And
okay, I just turned on. I missed it. I'm sorry.
I'm trying to give you a little background, that's all.
Be nice
Well,
to
but
Joe.
anyway-
I am.
Come on,
Hold on.
Jimmy.
You're talking down to
He's
it.
our listener.
I'm not talking down to him. I'm trying to explain because he said, I don't see why you did. A lot of people would be shocked unless you understood that there's more to it than just him not being able to grab a high leverage role and not being happy with it. He was really unhappy
Okay,
with it.
I'll give you that. But the main reason I called is I tried calling yesterday, and Charlie made a point or made a comment that for the last 5 years he would call the Cardinal decision-making unintelligent. Jim Hayes, you mentioned they've made mistakes. The reason I side with Charlie, there's two obvious examples for me. The first one is a couple years back. It's early May. Matt Carpenter's batting .205. He's in the last year of guaranteed money. The Cardinals had a club option for the next year, okay? So even if Matt Carpenter would have had a nice year bounce back, if you're the Cardinals, you just simply pick up the club option. Instead, you give him $40 million to be one of the worst players in Major League Baseball. There's no logic to what they did. Zero. They had all the cards, no pun intended. We all know that. The obvious second example, we've talked ad nauseum, is Randy Arozarena. At the time, the Cardinals' outfield was dreadful. Dexter Fowler was struggling. Harrison Bader couldn't hit his weight. And the left field situation was a disaster. You have a guy that was hitting .360 at the highest minor league level, and you don't bring him up. And when you do bring him up, he gets 15 at-bats. So that isn't logical. It's just not. So as Kevin Slayton would say, carpe diem to Charlie Marlowe. Thanks.
Thank you.
Carpe diem. Carpe diem.
All right, buddy.
Go to break.
I'll see you, Big Joe.
So there was a time when O'Neill was hitting and Bader was flashing that people were like, all right, you had to choose Apple. You made the right choice. In hindsight, it didn't work out. I wouldn't say, look, the mistake that they made with Carpenter, I think a lot of people foresaw that maybe that was a dangerous move to extend him. I get that. Where I think the Cardinals have made the biggest mistake, though, moving past that, is they've done some great dealing to secure Goldschmidt and Arenado, right? I mean, they made some great deals to do that, and they haven't done enough surrounding it. Like, you could pick this move and that move and say, they were wrong. Yes, they made mistakes. To me, the biggest problem and the biggest mistake they've made was not securing a supporting cast around those guys to make a move. When you have those guys who are on the clock now with Goldschmidt, with his age and everything, they should be better right now because they made miraculous moves to secure those guys, and look where they are. To me, that's where I think they've made their biggest mistake.
And by the way, I think I'm being pretty fair. I'm not being Mr. Meanie Pants. If you look at John Mozeliak, the first 10 years of his reign, what were his worst moves? John Mozeliak was almost perfect for 10 years. We all gave him flowers, and we all talked him up and gave him.
I didn't give him any flowers.
No, he deserved it.
I gave him saltwater tap.
Everyone
That's right,
heaped praise on John Mozeliak, as they should. We used to joke that the worst free agent deal he made was Ty Wigginton. That means you're doing a hell of a
Pretty
job.
dang good.
By the way, we used to joke, what was the player that got away? Who was it? Was it Luke Gregerson? Was it Adam Ottavino?
Yeah,
Was it a
Ottavino.
reliever? Okay, that happens all the time. Again, we were joking at the fact that the Cardinals were so smart at keeping their guys, and then they also were able to trade away players. How about Brett Wallace for Holiday? How about Colby Rasmus when he still had a lot of value, making that deal? So again,
On the dance
we're not
floor.
being unfair. For 10 years, John Mozeliak was lauded locally and across baseball as one of the best GMs, president of baseball ops in baseball. We look at Ty Wigginton as the bad signing and Luke Gregerson or who else as the one that got away. What is it now in the last 5 years? It's no longer Ty Wigginton on a 2-year small deal. The bad deals are now big deals. I'm not even going to throw Contreras yet, but so far, But we're talking about Leak. We're talking about Fowler. We're talking about Cecil. You can look at the extension for Carpenter. And then let's focus on, I think, what's even the bigger problem. The ones that got away. It's no longer Luke Gregerson. It's frickin' all-star stud outfielders and potential Cy Young Award winners. Nobody's being meanie pants. People are being fair. Everybody said John Mozeliak was awesome his first 10 years, and he was. But you can't act like giving away, essentially, a Arozarena and Adolis Garcia, not even giving a Arozarena a chance. And by the way, it's not hindsight to say, oh, you didn't know about Zach Gallen and Alcantara. Your whole job is to project your young guys. That's what they used to do better than anybody in baseball. You're supposed to be able to project who in A-ball might not make it and who will. And I'm not saying you're going to get it right every time. They probably got it right every time for 10 years, and that was not sustainable. But now they're getting a lot of them wrong. And they're not relievers that are going elsewhere and being good relievers. They're literal Cy Young Award winners, starters in the All-Star game, and frickin' All-Stars. I mean, we're talking about 4 monsters.
No, I know. And that's why people are bitching.
And they should, and that's being fair.
Yeah.
John Mozeliak knows the game. He didn't mess up for a decade. He has messed up for the last 5 years several times.
But in that mix, too, you also got Goldschmidt and Arenado, which I think were great moves. And that's
agree.
That's why I say, so, I mean, those are monster moves. So, to me, the biggest mistake, again, yeah, there were definite swing and misses, bad one on a Rosarena. I get that. But to me, the biggest swing and miss is that this team right now is not a playoff team when you have those guys because you didn't do enough to build around them to make sure that you can utilize this window of opportunity with 2 of the best players of their generations at the corners after great deals. That's, to me, where I think the biggest swing and miss came.
Here's my take on Goldschmidt, by the way. I don't think he's going to be traded. But it's really hard to get starting pitching. And you have about 17 guys on your roster that can hit and play first base. That's why I don't think it's crazy. I don't think it's going to happen, by the way, but I don't think that's crazy talk. When Gorman and Walker probably would fit better at first, Contreras hell might be a first baseman, and you could get a tremendous amount of value. Again, it's not going to happen, but I don't think that's crazy to talk about.
I don't think it's crazy either. I just know it's not going to happen. And I'll say this again, like when you have a guy like Goldschmidt who's so good offensively, so good defensively, like he checks every single box. So now you're like, all right, we're going to put this young guy in there. Oh, he doesn't, we're not used to seeing that kind of defense at first, or in its adjustment period. You have one of the best players at first. You have one of the best players at third. Fix the rest and make it fit, and this team can be good again. That's, to me, the biggest frustration. You know, I know that they're not going to trade Arenado and they're not going to trade Goldschmidt, so fix the rest around them. And you got to start with, as Mo said, pitching, because they made some bad mistakes. And Mo admitted it. We didn't have enough pitching. We should have.
So here's, and again, I agree with you. They're not going to trade Goldie. But here's essentially what they're doing then. They're going to trade the young, cheap, controllable player to keep the great, older, expensive player, which has bit them in the past. It bit them with Carpenter with the extension. It bit them with Wainwright. And I think Goldschmidt actually is going to age well. I just don't think it's nuts because you have so many guys who can play first base. And you have so many young guys that are cheap.
I get you, man. And Daddy Padre chimed in because, he has all the answers. Why can't they just DH Wilson? He's going to hit 20, 25 home runs, 70 RBIs. I mean, that's better than any other option there, and they could let Herrera catch.
Well, first off, then what happens if Herrera hits Kisner's got to be in the mix in there somewhere, too. What if Herrera stops hitting? I like what I've seen from him, and there's a reason. It's not like it came out of the blue. He changed his whole batting stance. He loads on the back where he gets more power. He's hitting the ball harder than he ever has. Maybe that'll stick. We don't know that. But you're going to need that DH spot to rest other guys like Goldschmidt, Arenado. And so I don't think it's feasible long-term or sustainable that Contreras is just your DH. If he's here, he's going to have to catch some.
And they never would have signed a DH for 5 years and $87.5 million. That's why I worry about this contract for the next 4 or 5 years. Because when the Cardinals sign a deal they don't love, they don't basically make up for it. That person sits on the roster forever. And Contreras can hit. I'm not trying to compare him to Fowler and Carpenter extension. But the last year or two, it could look like that.
And how about this? Work with him, make him better. Because that guy, not only does he hit, he's like an energy.
He is.
Man.
I
love him.
I like that.
I love
that part of it.
True.
And he plays with a lot of pride.
He does.
He brings something that they don't always have.
That's right.
And I like that. So help him get better at it.
Help him.
Because the answer is not, he's our everyday DH.
Yeah.
Not sustainable.
855-282-8255. Text line's blowing up. It's obvious Mozeliak benefited greatly from Lunau. Where are all the Randy Flores pitchers? Charlie. Hiring Matheny instead of Francona was a year 4 of Mo Circus. Walt Jocketty never made a move anywhere as close as horrendous as a Galana, Alcantara, Randy, and Aldo. Did I screw all that up?
Gallen.
Yeah. Gallen, Jesus Christ.
Some people call him Galana.
Galana.
Alcantara.
Never Jocketty close to that bad. Never. Let's say, preach Chuck. We have done, what have you done for me lately? Step down, simp.
That's a different conversation, though. I was talking about player acquisition, free agents, and trades. Again, I think it's a very valid point to say that the Cardinals, their last 3 managerial hires, after they had the oldest of the old school, Antonio La Russa, who was great, Hall of Famer, one of the last of his kind, and they went with guys that had never managed in the big league. So clearly, to the Cardinals, that was not important. And it hasn't been a great decade.
Did I hear that Cole and Sharon are going to do a cooking show? Well, they're going to need a moderator, a real-life chef to make sure everything is up, and who better to keeping it real than your resident chef, Bob Foley, a.k.a. Hockey Bob. And the only bleach involved will be to use to keep all the surfaces sanitary. That's kind of cute.
That was a nice.
You, Hockey Bob and Sharon, that'd be awesome.
That was a nice little shot that he threw at the text line at the end of that.
Oh, and, no,
The only bleach going to be used is keeping the countertops sanitary.
Keeping everybody in check. Jim.
Right here.
You seem so nice on the Cardinal broadcast, but I have a friend in the Lou who lived near you and said you were a dick.
Oh, man.
Is that true?
Oh.
Tell now it's not so,
Is that
Jimmy.
true?
Is that true?
Mike D. and how dare you?
Well, I had a neighbor
What'd you do?
that had a property issue, and
The monstrosity?
yeah, we tore that down.
You're damn right
Yeah.
you did. Hideous looking
You ran
thing.
him out of town back to Ohio.
Good. Get him out of there.
Absolutely. So if that's you or your friend,
Exactly.
maybe don't violate every single zoning law that the municipality has to offer.
Exactly.
Just because you're on the board.
Exactly.
And you're friends with the zoning lady.
Sit down.
Can I have a hot take?
Sure.
Again, I'm very excited for this next 2 weeks. Yet, I don't know why I think this. I feel like the Cardinals are going to trade away pieces and still creep back in the race. I really do. I think August, you're going to see the offense go on a tear. And I think they're going to be able to cobble together whoever it is. I don't know. I'm not saying it'll happen in 2024, but like whether it's Libator, Hudson, whoever's healthy, if it's a Woodford, if it's a McGreevy, I just have this feeling that maybe the Brewers and the Reds just kind of come back a little bit. And the Cardinals, no, I'm saying
they will. I mean,
that's my point. I think the Cardinals should trade away pieces, 100%. I don't care what they do the next 2 weeks. Yet, I still feel like the Cardinals are going to surge in August. They're going to outslug teams.
They'll get a bump.
And they're going to creep within 5 despite trading pieces. The Yankees, this happened with the Yankees, if you remember the year they traded Aroldis Chapman. Now, they didn't have a huge sell-off, but they sold off pieces, and they almost still made the playoffs that year.
so
Was it 16?
16 because he went to the Cubs and won the World Series.
this is different. The NL Central is not good. Okay, the teams that are contending right now are not complete teams. Obviously, more complete than the Cardinals are right now. But I always say it. Being in the NL Central means you never have to apologize for being mediocre. You're always in the hunt. So the Reds were the hottest team in baseball. I didn't think they have enough starting pitching to sustain it. Now they've lost 4 straight and falling out of first. Milwaukee, who had pitching, then had injuries, probably doesn't have enough offense. I don't think they're a complete team either. So just by playing better, yes, I think the Cardinals will make up some ground, though still 11 games out at this point. I mean,
I said 5.
No, I know.
I said they're going to sniff 5.
They'll sniff.
I'm not saying they're not. I'm just saying it's where they are right now makes it a very, very difficult climb. But it's certainly not because teams in the NL Central are really gonna start sprinting toward the finish.
Even though I've been meanie pants, let me paint you a positive picture. Could you see this happen? And by the way, what did you think of Mozeliak yesterday saying the team was pressing early? They were down 3-4 zip. They had 1 million guys at the World Baseball Classic. All, I think, legitimate factors. You can say they're excuses. They had a terrible start. But if you also talk about guys where, okay, you're pressing, well, then you get a game, you go for 4, and you get sat. Mozeliak brought that up. You can make the case, if Mozeliak makes the right deals, It might be easier to just play 8 dudes every day. It might be easier to say, hey, the pressure's kind of off. We're not playing for 2023. All of a sudden, these guys relax a little bit. All of a sudden, people's roles are a little more solidified. I can see that happening.
And it is an excuse to say, well, we had, 16 guys at the World Baseball Classic, whatever it was. But you take a guy like Michaelis, right, who barely pitched at the World Baseball Classic. So he didn't get the kind of leverage and work that he needed to be ready for the regular season. Is that on him? Yes, I guess. But it's pretty clear in the beginning he was not good, and then all of a sudden he got good. Maybe if he had a normal spring training and wasn't part of the World Baseball Classic, maybe he would have been good from the onset. That goes for some of the other pitchers, too, that were involved in that. That's something you got to navigate. That's on them to be ready. But it is an excuse, but there is something to it, I think.
And then another factor on what I just said. Don't you think, let's just say right now, Flaherty and Monty are both gone. For Mozeliak to have done a good job this trade deadline, just this deadline, don't you think he needs to acquire at least one legitimate starting pitcher who's already in the big leagues?
Yes.
Okay.
How are you going to get that?
Again,
Paul Goldschmidt.
Well,
I don't think you can just package up all the guys you don't want and get a starting pitcher.
Donovan has a lot of value. Edman has value. Even some of these guys, the Burlesons of the world, have okay value. You could package, whether it's DeYoung, Stratton, a Monty, a Flaherty, a Hicks, you could package 3 of those dudes to one contender, and all of a sudden you get a better prospect.
Prospect's different, though.
Okay, you could have a guy who is close to the big leagues. No, I'm talking more about what I said earlier, Logan Gilbert. If you're getting, because Seattle seems to be the team that has extra pitching, the Cardinals have extra position players. They do seem like a fit there. I think John Mozeliak will get at least one pitcher that's already a good major league pitcher at this trade deadline.
Who's this Gilbert guy, Cole? Who is he?
He's a 26-year-old for Seattle in his 3rd year, is what I'm just now. I've heard the name. I didn't know much about him.
Good.
Okay.
He doesn't average. I don't think he averages a strikeout per inning, but he has the ability to become that. He's 26, big kid. Look,
Kirby, somebody of that ilk is what I'm saying.
And I agree. They need that, and I think they're going to get that. But I'll say this again, based on what teams need. First of all, Flaherty and Montgomery have huge value because they could step right in and help some team that's close get across the goal line. But that team is not going to give you one of their starters because obviously they need starting pitching.
Exactly.
So therefore, you need a third party. You're going to have to be creative on how to get that done. And if I'm in the front office, I'm targeting those teams that badly need another starter now to get them over the goal line and then work in a 3-way deal with Seattle or something like that where everyone gets what they need. But you're, in my opinion, the way just looking at the teams that need a Flaherty or Montgomery, you're going to need a 3-way deal, which we see all the time. You just got to be a little creative about it.
I agree with you in theory, but I do think the Mariners are the one team where you could do, as Doug Armstrong calls it, a hockey trade. This could be a baseball trade. It could just be position player or position players for a pitcher.
I agree with that. But there's also, in order to make a trade happen, too, you have to play the market. So you're going to have to play other teams and, and look at other creative ways to get it done. But
Text line's blowing up. I'll try to get to all y'all here. Kerry also won't shut up when a no-hitter or a perfect game is going on. Ball Game finally called him out on it the other day. Best thing Jimmy Edmonds has done in a long time. Rule 1 of a no-hitter perfect game. Don't talk about the dang no-hitter perfect game.
Disagree.
Damn. Where's Danny Mack at?
Disagree as a broadcaster. I think it's fine that Danny Mack did that.
Sharon.
But no, I disagree with that. That's for the players. That's for the people in the dugout. It's not for the announcers. Your announcing job is to describe what's happening, not to, trick people.
Yeah, I get you, man. Let's see here. They keep blowing up here. Let's trade. Oh, yeah, I guess they're making fun of Maddie's dad. Oh, yeah, let's trade the catcher we had a cup of coffee with. That'd be really smart. Let me trade in the brand new car I just bought because I don't like it and I want something else. That's real smart. Okay. Great, Cam. You're drinking Bud Light again? I'm guessing then you're going to be going to the Barbie premiere this weekend, aren't you? Sounds like Ryan Gosling and Ken should bag you up. Cam's envy Dylan. Pizza Wallet. Dang D dog. I did drink Bud Light, and I'm proud of it, Jimmy. Did I wear a dress? Yeah. At the end of the day, Kate told me to put it back, and I did.
What color?
Pink. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of embarrassed myself a little bit, but whatever. It was at the end of the day.
This is a hot
were you
take
hot?
right here, but my take
Kind of.
is drink whatever beer you want to drink.
There it is, Jimmy.
I said it.
As long as it's not Bud Light.
So I think most secure men don't really care if they drink a Bud Light.
They don't care.
But other people that really focus on that, I wonder sometimes.
I'm insecure. Let's see here, Mike.
Bud Light built this frickin' town.
Yes, it did, Charlie. Yes, it did.
Drink whatever you want. You don't want to drink Bud Light? Good for you.
Good for
I
you.
don't care. Drink what you want to drink. Don't drink what you don't want to.
There it is.
Cam's very insecure about this.
See, I don't think like if
Am
some
I?
guys like
I
I'm
drank
not.
it.
I'm not
You
drinking
said
that.
you hadn't drank in 3 months.
I didn't, but I drank it that day.
Well, why'd you
And
stop?
I put a dress on.
Why'd you stop?
Because of that.
You drank it
I
before.
embarrassed the whole
So
family.
you admitted it.
I embarrassed the whole family.
You stopped drinking Bud Light.
I did. I skipped it to the gas station. It was right there, and I'm like, eh. Then I looked one section over, and there was Busch Light, and I'm like, I'm going to try Busch Light.
So you supported AB.
I headed for the mountains.
You supported AB.
You're dang right.
You still supported AB.
Just not Bud Light. It just hit me.
still-
I'm like, I
but
don't
still.
know. I don't know.
I think it's as dumb to ridicule someone who says I didn't like that, even though it wasn't even on sale. The can with Dylan.
I feel bad for her
I don't
now.
care. But so if someone wants to drink it, good. But if someone says, "Yeah, I didn't like that. I'm going to
Good.
drink some," good.
Thank you. See, Charlie?
Who
Why'd you
cares?
bring it
See,
up then?
Charlie?
Well, clearly you care because you brought it up.
He brought it up.
No, you brought it
No,
up.
Pizza Walt did.
No.
No.
Hold on.
What?
Yesterday, you brought it up.
That's right.
You made a big deal of it.
Because of Nancy.
You made a
She made a
segment out of
mistake.
it.
She made a mistake.
No, maybe she supports
She made a mistake.
everyone.
She supports. She
Maybe
does.
she's secure.
She does. Very secure.
What are you hiding over there?
A lot of things, Charlie.
I know. Let's
I'm
talk
hiding
about it.
a lot of
Let's
things.
talk about it.
I'm not going to lie to you. I'm hiding a lot of things. A lot of things.
Can I say one thing?
Yeah.
I hope the Cardinals keep Hicks.
Yeah.
I hope that they find a way to keep that because I think Hicks and Helsley, though I know Helsley will get killed because he can't pitch 2 in a row and sometimes he doesn't feel like he's ready to go. When you have those two at the end of your bullpen, you have the makings of a good bullpen. Now Stratton's probably going to go. That's another guy who has a lot of value as a trade
Yeah.
chip. He's been really
solid.
good value. But I think if you have those two guys ready to go at the end of games, you can build the bullpen from other pieces there and have a pretty solid bullpen.
May I throw something out there?
Sure.
I
Another
think
hot
this is
take.
a practical question. And again, this goes back to for the first 10 years of Mosaic, the Cardinals were the place to be. They were frickin' winning World Series, going to World Series, NLCS, deep runs. They were spending more. It was the place to be. Until kind of all of a sudden the Hayward thing, okay, aging core, I half joke, but he was kind of right. Then there was a downturn at the end of Matheny. Couple times, 2-3 times you don't make the playoffs. Let me throw this out there as a practical matter. Cam, you're a former professional athlete. Is it fair to say that professional athletes, there's 2 things they probably want the most, I would think. Making the most, and this is not in particular order, making the most amount of money and winning. Is that fair?
When I was young, I wanted to no, you're right. Yeah,
Okay.
winning. Yeah, that's
So
right.
let me ask you this.
Money first, then win.
money, then winning. There you go. Thank you.
I think they're kind of intertwined, but yes,
it's all good.
money and a chance to win or win a World Series in this case.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think the Cardinals are set up well in either of those positions for next year? They're now spending, they're not spending top 10 anymore. They're spending basically at the midpoint of baseball. And I don't think they're going to be a World Series contender to anyone next year. I'm not trying to be a hater. I'm saying to get the best free agent, you're going to have to spend the most. Cardinals don't usually do that. And I don't think you're going to get a hometown discount. I don't think you're going to get Lance Berkman and Carlos Beltran wanting to come here at the end of their careers to win a World Series. I don't think the Cardinals right now are a team that's as attractive as they were 5, 7, 8 years ago. I'm not saying that they're terrible, but you also have to sell folks on coming to St. Louis. You used to be able to sell them on, it's baseball heaven. It still is, but they rarely ever pay the most money. They're about to miss the playoffs most likely. They're one of the worst teams in the National League. They're not as attractive as a destination as they were 5 to 7 years ago.
Even when they were winning, I recall people would say, well, free agents don't want to come to St. Louis for whatever reason. Look, will they be contenders next year? TBD. It depends. They got their work cut out for them. Everyone knows. Cole knows. You know. They got work to do. Now it's on them to do it. If they take care of what they need to take care of, and that is, as Mo said, pitching, I think they'll be contenders. Maybe won't win a World Series, but certainly be in the mix for teams that have a shot at it. If they don't take care of what they need to take care of, we are destined for another season like we had this season. Mo basically admitted they needed more pitching. He didn't get them pitching. Now the mission is pitching. So now it's on them. Can they do it? They admitted mistakes.
TBD.
We'll see. TBD.
But I don't think they're destined for a season like this one. I do agree with Mo when he said if you played the season over again, we would not be as bad. That's not saying they're going to be in first place or they're going to be a World Series contender. I'm more worried about being mediocre again. I don't think the Cardinals will be 10 games below 500 next year. But again, we're talking about this is where I feel like we've moved the goal line a little bit because before the year, everybody expected 90 wins and they wanted more. They wanted a playoff run. And now we're shifting to will they be a contender, which is a fair argument because, look, they've really fallen back. Nobody saw this coming. No one saw this coming. Let's be honest
Cole
about
did.
that.
He talked about it.
To be 11 games under?
Yeah, it was on his other podcast he did.
But I think it's fair to say, will the
Toledo.
Cardinals be mediocre-ish next year?
But what I said, just to be clear, is as it stands right now looking at next year, they have giant holes. If they don't take care of that, we're going to have another season like this. So, I mean, to be contenders, to get to the next level, and certainly dig out of whatever they're in right now, they got to get starting pitching. And they know what they have to get.
We got it. Once Kisner gets traded, are you guys going to still talk to him every week? It'll be refreshing talking about a relevant team, Gino. See, he's always negative. God, is he negative? For being on a boat in Kentucky Lake, he's always negative.
Or is he being accurate?
Oh.
The Cardinals, are they relevant right now? They're relevant for the trade deadline.
Wait, are the Cardinals relevant for St. Louis? Yes.
He's talking about a relevant baseball team.
They're relevant to us. We talk about the Cardinals every day. That's the best thing we talk about.
Gino.
It's the only thing we talk about.
He was talking about amongst Major League Baseball.
Oh, this is nice. I'm totally down with Hockey Bob joining our foodie podcast. He can explain the finer points of proper food storage and how long meat will last being stored in a trunk during in August in St. Louis. Good info everyone needs. See, it's all coming together, Cole.
He's going to pick wedgies on our show.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Oh, man, they keep coming in. I just
Wash your hands.
Cardinals aren't attracted to free agents because they are in the Midwest and are too white and buttoned up.
Too white?
Yeah, too white.
But also, you got to spend money.
You got to spend money.
This is the thing I always joke about. You got to give him the best deal. Why do you think they gave Contreras 5 years and an option? That's what it took. I'm not saying it was a great deal, but you have to. Everybody knows this. You have to overpay and give an extra year to get the deal done. You just do. That's why it's so important to not trade away young talent. Then you don't put yourself in that spot as much.
Isn't that Mo's job, Lisa? Oh, hi, Lisa. I know that you texted in the Bernie show. Now she's texting with us.
What are you kind of monitoring other shows?
Oh, I read the text line. I'm like Charlie Tuna.
Yeah, I'm about to say, who are you, Tuna?
I'm like Tuna. Trump Jr. Let's see here.
Who gets the most text?
We do.
I think that's
then-
because you read them the most,
Yeah.
and you put your passion into reading them.
I think you're
You
right.
do,
on that.
and you also make them feel like they're part of it.
Because
which
they are
should
part
be.
of it.
They are.
They are.
The
Damn right.
text line, though it tends to skew more on the bitter,
They do.
they do.
They
That's
get it.
fine,
But
though.
I
that's
like it.
fine.
It's good for business.
No, that's fine.
Yeah, it
but
is.
there are listeners, so there are customers. So you should read. I don't care. Like if they kill me, that's fine. Whatever their opinion is, we're
read
going
it.
to roll with it.
But here's
I
the
got
difference.
$300 headphones on.
Yeah, here's the difference. For
Who
years,
brags about that, by the way?
Tuna does.
for years, the Cardinals were really good, and the text line was still bitter. This year, they have a
They're
right
justified.
to be bitter. Like the last, I know it hasn't been great, but they still make the playoffs usually. They win 90.
Yeah.
The last 5 years, everybody was bitter when they were good. Now they're allowed to be bitter.
Yeah,
Okay?
I agree. No,
They're
I
allowed
think
to be
that's
better
fair.
in
I think that's
2023.
fair. But do you remember back when we're doing other shows
Like what? What show?
when TMA or when you had
Nick and the Badger.
Nick and the
Great
Badger,
show.
or whatever,
Were you
Cole,
Nick or the
Cole
Badger?
and Friends, whatever the heck you were on.
Badger.
But even when they were making the playoffs every year, it was a big thing.
show.
Oh, the This isn't a destination city. The Cardinals can't sign free agents. Like there was now they're not even playing well, and so now if that was the case, it is tougher. But I'll say it again. I don't think John Mozeliak is dumb. I
never said that.
I'm not saying you did. I am looking at you only to include you in the conversation. He knows what he has to do. No one in that organization is happy with the way things went, and he knows he needs pitching. Now, it's going to be fascinating to see how they try to achieve that goal while keeping the cornerstones and using whatever currency they have available to try to get that done. I think it's going to be fun to watch.
I think this is a decent analogy. For years in football, folks always talk about the Green Bay Packers. Despite the great history, arguably the greatest history in football, it's hard to attract free agents to Green Bay, Wisconsin. You have to draft well. The Cardinals are similar. The Cardinals are never going to outspend these coastal teams. They're never going to outspend the LA teams, the New York teams, the Chicago teams. And let's be real. Nothing wrong with St. Louis. I love it. I live here. But it is not going to be a destination city for some folks who want more of a nightlife or more of a big city. Whatever.
Hell
I'm
no, he
talking
ain't coming here.
Miami, Chicago, LA, New York.
Mall.
So my point is, if any team in baseball needs to draft and develop, which is what the Cardinals did so well for 10 years, this is a team that you can't miss out on the Arozarenas and the Gallons and the Alcantras. You can't miss out on those guys like some of the coastal teams can, and then they outspend their mistakes. The Cardinals can't do that.
That was a great point.
Damn, you're on your game today, and people are talking about it, Charlie. People are talking about it.
I'm into this Cardinals team.
I'm skipping the text.
I like how you took it from baseball to geography back to baseball. It all tied it all together very
Well, baseball's
nicely.
the only sport I follow besides NASCAR.
Besides NASCAR.
I admit it. Do I watch the soccer? I've been at a bar a couple times on a Saturday night, and it's up on the monitor, and I'm rooting for them. And I may go to a game.
God, I know. I haven't seen
I'm excited
a
for them.
second of it.
And the Blues, I hope they have a hell of a year.
I do too.
Go to a game.
When it's hockey season, I watch the Blues every night.
Yeah.
And we talk about it.
Yes.
And we should.
Yeah.
Off season, not so much. Now you have a
Nothing's
team
going on right now.
Now you have a team heading a tumultuous season, team heading to the trade deadline. Of course, we're going to be talking Cardinals.
Cam, why the Blues signed Subban as a backup? Goalie Joe Hofer deserves a chance. Thoughts? Oh, he's going to get a chance. They just want a little competition, man. You know, he could send Hofer down, I believe. So that's probably why.